And is it 6 yet, Brady?
It's 6 and we are officially live.
It's officially live. Well, hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to our community conversation where we're talking about all things fireworks and the trauma that comes along with it. My name is Julia Mejia. I'm an at-large city councilor. And over the last few weeks, what we have realized is that the fireworks situation across the city has grown louder and louder and more disruptive. And what we decided to do is create an opportunity to have a community-centered conversation where we're looking at what can we do as residents to address this issue. And more importantly, creating an opportunity and a space for those who are living the realities to share what their perspectives are and some of their brightest ideas. So we're looking forward to your comments and participation. You could send us your questions and comments via our Facebook as well as Twitter. Yes, so we're also going live on Twitter today because not everybody's on Facebook. And we have some folks who have also joined us via Zoom. So get ready for a lively discussion. In the interest of making sure that we protect everyone, we are going to keep everyone on mute and then call upon people. So I'm going to first ask my colleagues on the council to say a few words. I'm going to start off with Councilor O'Malley. You now have the floor. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you to my dear colleague and friend, Councilor Mejia, and thanks to my other colleagues. And most importantly, thank you to all of our participants tonight, and specifically the youth. I was born and raised in this city, and without fail, typically around July 4th is when you start to see some and hear some fireworks in the neighborhoods, usually a couple days leading up and then a couple days beyond. I've never seen anything like this before. The fact that we're I think I'm unmuted now, Brady. Yep. Okay, perfect. So as I was saying, this has been a just really challenging with every night in every neighborhood, the breadth and the depth of fireworks going off. Obviously, we understand how there can be associated with folks experiencing trauma. I'm particularly sensitive to our military veterans, and we're going to hear from our colleague, Councilor Flynn, who's an active military veteran, and just how these can sort of really trigger some mental health challenges. So we want to be smart about how we approach this. We want to be effective in how we approach this, and that's why I really am grateful to the leadership of Councilor Mejia for convening us all today, and to Chief Smith of Mayor Walsh's administration, my colleagues. We want to be intentional about how we address this thing. This is a quality of life issue. This is a public health issue. This is obviously a public safety issue. I don't know if there, for those participants on who may live in Jamaica Plain, there was an accident in Pimentel Market, which is one of our great little bodegas that we support, caused by a firework going off in the adjacent parking lot the other night. So this is public safety. This is public health. This is quality of life. And we need to address it. We need to fix it, both for the safety of our residents and the peace of mind for our residents. So to have this space to really delve into community-based approaches in ways that we can address this problem and address this issue is an important one. So I wanted to again thank my colleague and friend for her leadership, and I look forward to continuing to get to work together with all of you. Thanks very much.
Julia, you're unmuted. Sorry, just one.
I should know this by now. Thank you. I'm going to go now to Councilor Flynn.
Hey, Councilor Mejia. I want to say thank you to Councilor Mejia and my colleagues, but especially the young people for joining Councilor Mejia on this important discussion. I see Chief Jerome Smith as well from Mayor Walsh's office. But this is what this city is all about, is coming together during this difficult period, listening to each other, finding common ground, being respectful to each other. And as Councilor O'Malley said, this is a quality of life issue. It's a public safety issue. It's a public health issue. As many veterans also experience PTSD, it's also a challenging time with the fireworks for many veterans and seniors that have having a difficult time sleeping at night as well. But I'm confident that this city will come together on this challenge and all of the challenges we're facing with. And we only can do that with the help of young people in the city. And that's by listening to each other, treating each other fairly, treating each other with respect. So I want to say thank you to Councilor Mejia for bringing everybody together. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Flynn. Really grateful to have you alongside us on this work. I'm going to go now to Councilor Essaibi-George.
Thank you, Julia, for bringing everyone together this evening. I'm only going to be here for a little bit more because I have a few other commitments this evening, but just never thought that we'd be able to do something like have a public conversation about fireworks. So I'm just excited to hear what the possible solutions are to this. I think thinking about this work in a solutions-based frame of mind is really important. It's bringing it more than just about the complaints and the frustration and the aggravation on the low end that fireworks cause, and certainly on the trauma and the stress and the anxiety it creates on the other end. So excited about this conversation. Excited. I'll continue to watch it through Facebook Live so I can participate in my other community meetings this evening. But happy that you've brought everyone together to discuss this. But thank you, and good luck with the entire forum this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Councilor Essaibi-George. I'm going to go to Councilor Bach. Oh, you're
Thank
on.
you. Thank you, Councilor Mejia. I'll be brief because we want to get to the conversation, and especially our youth, and just say we're all hearing the concern. I mean, we're all hearing the fireworks, and I just would echo the degree to which, I think fireworks displays on an occasional basis where people know they can avoid them if they need to is one thing, but I think this is catching a lot of people by surprise, leading to a lot of sleepless nights. And I'm so glad you've convened this space, because I think it's easy for us all to think that the way to solve community problems is through some kind of dream of enforcement. But really, I think this has to be about us recognizing that it's us residents of Boston who are setting off these fireworks and us residents of Boston who are being disturbed by them. And we've got to have conversations and creative solutions together. So really glad you've created the space. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Councilor Bach. I'm going to, just wondering, Brady, we have staff from Councilor Flaherty's office as well as Campbell who are here. Do you want to introduce yourselves really quick?
Hi, it's Alicia from Councilor Flaherty's office. I look like a mess, so I have not put my video on. There's no way. But it's good to see everybody. I'm just here to listen and learn and see what creative solutions being come up for this problem. I live in Roxbury and I have not slept in the last 2 days, so happy to hear and see what's going to go on, and also, acknowledge the root causes of this and see how we can make everybody happy. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're going to go to Councilor Campbell's staff, please.
Hey everyone, Dustin Gardner from Councilor Andrea Campbell's office. So I kind of wear two hats. Obviously, we've been getting tons of calls as well, as she represents Dorchester, Mattapan, a little bit of Rosendale, a little bit of JP. But I also sit on the board for our neighborhood organization that's also been brainstorming creative solutions to this. So excited for the space.
You must have some really good Wi-Fi. So far, you're the best. Your screen looks really great. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to, unless there are any other colleagues that I need to recognize, really, I am grateful for your partnership and your leadership in this conversation with us. And I know that nothing about us without us is for us. And so having all of us here is really important. I'd love to invite Chief Jerome, who you already have been heard referenced before to introduce himself as well.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. I am the city's Chief of Civic Engagement and Director of Neighborhood Services. And so I'm happy to be here because I, just like Dustin said, I think all of the city council and the mayor's office has been inundated lately. We've seen a huge increase in fireworks over last year. It's typically around the 2 weeks before the 4th of July they start. But the intensity that we've had now is nothing that we've seen. We've done some recent busts, and we traced some of the fireworks back as far as Michigan. So we're looking at possibly that some individuals have brought them into. So originally what we were thinking is that, individuals were just crossing the border to New Hampshire, buying fireworks, bringing them back. But these larger fireworks are actually being brought in from Michigan and other states. So we believe someone brought in a ton of fireworks. There must be some sort of distribution place here in the city that people are selling them out of. So we're trying to find that place. But just like the counselor said, I'm here because I'll be brief because I actually want to listen for suggestions. Because right now, as you call 311, we encourage you to call 911 because right now the only tools that we have for the city is police enforcement. And so it's either 911 or 311. And then when you create a case in 311, it just goes to BPD anyway for a 911 response. And so we think that we do agree that there needs to be more than just that process for residents. And so if there's any tools that the city can come up with through crowdsourcing with you guys, I'm all ears. Flyers, door hangers, posters. I'm into listening to see any ideas and thoughts that you guys may have, because this has become a significant problem in a short amount of time. Like I said, we generally get it around 2 weeks before the 4th, but this is way earlier than normal. So thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to just listening and hearing what everybody has to say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We're really grateful that you are here to join alongside us on this dialogue. And again, we want to just remind people we are hoping to have a community-centered approach to helping to solve this problem. I come as, for those folks who may or may not know, I'm a community organizer. I believe that folks who are living the realities, we have the ideas, we know what works, we know what our blocks look like, we know how to interact with our neighbors, and so really hoping to set the stage and create a framework for how citizens can actually really take the lead on some of these things and work in collaboration with the city on responding to these needs. So glad to have you here. One of the things that I think is really important is to kind of help set the stage for folks who are listening. I know we have some young people who don't really think it's a big deal that we have fireworks, but I would love for folks who are really struggling with this right now to kind of help us set the stage. And then we're going to move the conversation and have some of the young people share some of their perspectives. But I really wanted to kick things off and invite Melinda, if you could please unmute yourself and just introduce yourself and just share with us what this has been like for you.
Okay, so this is Melida Arredondo. I currently live in Rosendale, and I used to work often in Dorchester. I was there for about 20 years working in Dorchester at a few different places. But I want to tell you first about my background, which is I grew up in New York. And when the riots of 68 and 69 started happening, I was about 3 and 4 years old. And from where I was living in the projects in Brooklyn, I could see the place burning down. So those are the memories that I have in mind. And believe it or not, that's sort of what has been going on with hearing all the fireworks. I've had a lot of cases of post-traumatic stress disorder in my life. I have a lot of reasons for it. I have a disability called brittle bone disease, and I've broken my bones in my body more than 50 times. That's when I stopped counting. Okay, so because of that, if I would fall, if someone would touch me, I would break. I developed post-traumatic stress disorder because it was really hard to handle me when I was a kid, and at times now too, around my physical stuff. So, but here in Boston, I tried to turn that all around. When I got here, I was 17 years old, and I got involved with the community. For those of you who know way back, my first campaign was Mel King. Didn't work out. That's okay. We still love him. And but through my life, I raised 2 children. They were teenage boys. Fortunately, they both died. Alex was killed by a shot to the head, but it was during wartime while he was in Iraq. And his younger brother took his life as well, Brian. I've worked with youth in the community about 9 years between volunteer work and paid work here in Boston, and I appreciate that. I love the kids. It's part of the reason why I choose to live in the city. I am Latina, hablo perfectamente español. Mis padres son de Costa Rica y Nicaragua. I'm the only one in my brothers and sisters of the 7 who was born in the US. And it was because of my physical disability where I could get better medicine. So, but I just wanted to tell you what's going on with me, okay? I am not a happy person. I am not a happy person when I don't sleep enough. And my little dog, Sugar, who's eating a bone right now, I'm going to show her to you. She gets freaked out and she walks all over me in the middle of the night. So today with the thunderstorms during the day, and then if they're going to be fireworks tonight, it's going to be a difficult night for us to sleep. And that really gets in the way of me being able to work during the day. I need to work. Yeah. And it impacts how I'm doing. I'm also a bombing survivor. I know we're trying to keep this short. I was at the Boston Marathon bombing. My husband helped out a lot of people when I was there. And, the noises are pretty bad. So I'm going to say goodbye for now. Ciao. And peace. That's what we need. Peace in our souls and in our community.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. I am going to now ask Ron. Oh, actually, I wanted to quickly say that I just have learned that Councillor Wu has joined the call. So Councillor Wu, if you could just say hello briefly, because we have a few more panelists to get to. So you want to say hello, Councillor Wu?
Oh, can you see me and hear me? Hi, thank you so much, Councilor Mejia, for doing this. It is constant in our house too. We're in Rosendale, and every night my husband, my number one constituent, the husband is like, come on, we have to take care of this. So I know there's a lot of issues that the city is discussing right now, and that the council and so many of my colleagues are leading and moving forward on, but we need to be able to have multiple conversations at the same time, and that's why I so appreciate the space that you've created, just linking all of us and making sure we're focusing on community-driven solutions. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to go, we have a lot of people on Zoom. We have people on Twitter and on Facebook following along. Thank you so much. I hope that in the chat rooms, you're also sharing your solutions and your stories. I'm gonna move on to quickly, and I know I don't wanna rush you all, but I'm gonna ask everyone if you could just quickly say your name, the neighborhood that you live in, and how specifically the fireworks are impacting you. I'm gonna go next to Ron, my neighbor. I know how it's impacting you because it's impacting me, but you got a story to tell, so share with us.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Councilor Mejia, for just even the opportunity and this platform that we're able to be with one another to hash out some type of answer to any problem that is going on in our neighborhood. I'm, like I said, my name is Ron Odom. I'm from the Dorchester neighborhood area. We like to call it the Greater Dorchester area, and where we belong to an organization that is called ROC, and it's an acronym for Redefining Our Community. And I'm coming from the lens of a survivor of homicide. My 13-year-old son, Stephen, was murdered on October 4th, 2007. And what my input, if you will, is that his life was taken right outside of my home, a few feet away from my home. I heard the gunshots when my son's life was taken, and when his body fell to the ground. So just the sound of the fireworks, and I believe there is a difference between fireworks and firecrackers. But those fireworks that are going off today, it just reminded me so of my son's life that was taken that day. And I'm not one to, I mean, as a kid, I did the same thing. So, but we had firecrackers, if you will. But it just reminded me, I had a vision in my mind of my son's body falling to the ground, and that was it for the rest of it just kept me up for the rest of the day. And like I said, I shot firecrackers myself as a kid, but just the sound of these fireworks, it just re-triggered me to the point where I just couldn't sleep. And that's when I think either you or someone else had reached out to me, Julia, and I thank you for the reach out. But I just want to just let people know the effect that the fireworks are having on people in the neighborhood, and it goes a little deeper than just the sound of it. It's triggering for other people. So I just thank you, and I can go all day, but I don't want to take up any more of your time. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us and bringing all of you to this space. And for those folks who are out here paying attention and listening, and you are out here popping off those fireworks, know that it's impacting people greatly. So thank you for sharing that, Ron. Really do appreciate it. I'm gonna go next to Sean.
Hi there. Thank you so much, Councilor Mejia, for having this discussion. My name is Sean Terry. I live in the South End, and I'm a Boston Marathon bombing survivor. I'm from Hopkinton, where the marathon. I ran for Pine Street Inn. I raised $5,000 to do so, and so I couldn't have been more excited finishing the marathon, the first Boston Marathon I ever ran. I went to the med tent because I had a blister that just popped like right before I finished. And when I went back after that to thank the nurses at the finish line, that's when the first bomb went off. It took me over 2 hours to find my parents, who had been cheering right by where the first bomb went off. Thankfully, they had moved beyond by that point. It took me a long time to sort of understand, I think the strength of the city after the bombing, of everybody coming together, was so inspiring, but it took me a long time to realize the ripple effect that experience had on me. All I remember from the bombing was they said, stay away from trash cans. And so probably 6 months later, I remember there was a really loud noise and I was near a trash can and I had a panic attack. And it was then when I started getting treatment for my post-traumatic stress. And any sort of loud noise plus sirens for me just exacerbates any of the those are the biggest triggers for me. And I live on Washington Street, and I also, from a place of privilege, I have the option to go to my parents' house in Hopkinton, but I don't want to. I live in Boston for a reason, and I want to be here in this community. This is the city that I love, and this is my home now. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to speak. It's really not easy. And I'm also like, thank you to the other panelists who are speaking. And really just appreciate the idea of coming together as a community for community solutions, because this is our city's issue that we just need to hear each other. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sean. And, I also want to, again, remind those who are tuning in is that this conversation is really helping to set the stage so that people understand the impact of what fireworks are having on our community. And you're right, Sean, this is happening across the entire city of Boston. No matter what part, there's 22 neighborhoods, every single neighborhood is feeling the effects of this. So having a conversation that we can all relate to, but then walk away with some real concrete next steps is what we hope to get to tonight. So thank you. I'm gonna move on to quickly to Ben and Ann, because in many ways, it was your post and your communication that you were having in the Dot Parents Facebook page that I got tagged onto about why it's so important for folks not to call the police on the situation. And would love if you could just quickly introduce yourselves and just talk to us a little bit about why you all in this campaign around not calling the police, how did that come about and why? So if we can unmute Ben and Ann, that would be great.
Thanks. I'm Anna Ayler, and this is my husband, Ben. We are residents of Dorchester. We live near Ronan Park. We're hearing all the fireworks. A lot of them are getting set off in Ronan Park and Fields Corner. We're also part of the Dorchester Parents Facebook group, Dot Parents, and someone posted there about the fireworks and how frustrating and disturbing it is and how much sleep they're losing. And it turned into a really big conversation with lots of different people offering ideas, talking about what they had done, calling 311, some calling 911. And as much as the fireworks are really hard for us, it's hard to get sleep. We have a little daughter who luckily sleeps through them better than we do. But we really feel, given what's going on, what you see every day on the news and what's happening here locally in Boston, in our community, that calling the police is not the right solution for this. And we really wanted to have a conversation exactly like this. So thank you again for convening it. And I think some of the things we've been talking about are, how do we talk to our neighbors about this? How do we, talk to people who are setting off the fireworks and find some kind of common ground, whether it's limiting the hours or just having more awareness around safety. This was exactly our goal. Did you want to add anything?
Sure. Yeah, I think for me, the point around not calling the police and just the need to invest in more community resources and not policing, I feel like is really important. And as a white person, I don't really often get profiled by the police, but when I was going to my social work field placement last fall, I was stopped by the police because they thought I was in a domestic dispute with Anna and had stolen Rory. And I just had this really terrified moment where I thought the police were going to take my kid from me. And so I feel like, although the fireworks are causing mental health issues, like the way we police our communities is also causing mental health issues. And we don't want to be choosing a solution that's causing other problems that are really affecting people. And I feel like this is something that's especially defunding police is especially important to me because as someone who's newer to this area, I recognize that there are other folks who are more affected by this. And I just really want to speak up about things because, if it's affecting one of us, we got to fight for it. So.
Thank you. Thank you both for joining us. And we are definitely going to be getting to the solutions, I promise you, but I wanted to just quickly acknowledge that my colleague, Councillor Flaherty, has also joined us. So if we can just unmute him really quick for some quick hellos and remarks, that would be great.
Julia, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just obviously, it's just great to be on. I appreciate you hosting this. And obviously, we're getting calls. I know my staff, Alicia's on. She can tell you firsthand the number of phone calls we've been getting in our office across the city. In fact, I was up a good part of last night because of fireworks that were being detonated. So I can tell you that we're in my own neighborhood, we've worked closely with the captain at Area C6 as well as the state police because they've been shooting them off along the beaches. And working with both of them have been great. They've been right on it. And just the other day, they had a big bust. They confiscated a significant amount of fireworks that my sense would be they were going to be distributed throughout all the neighborhoods. That's how much stuff they got. So they're working hard. I know that we're going to continue to stay on this as a community, as elected leaders, and understand the significant issue that it is and the sensitivities that it touches as well. So hopefully folks can continue to call 311 and when appropriate 911, and this work with our local police captains and the state police to try to curtail it and where we can get them off the street. That's important. But thank you, and I'm listening. I want to listen to the residents.
Thank you so much, Councilor Flaherty, for joining us. I want to go to, I'm going to just be really super mindful that we definitely, a lot of people have tuned in to get to the solutions. So there's some voices that I have, some perspectives that we have yet to hear from. So I'm going to go to Jerry. If you could kind of just briefly, what it's been like, if you could just kind of uplift the impact of our elders as it relates to this, that would be great.
One moment, I'm just.
All right. All right, I think it's off now.
Okay, yeah.
Hi, I'm Jerry. I live in the Upham's Corner area. I live on a small street with only 3 houses on one side and a very large wooded churchyard on the other side. Like everyone else, we have been bombarded hearing fireworks every night. One night last week, it was very close for comfort. There was a car with some young adults who pulled up and were shooting off fireworks right in the middle of our street. It was the night after we had become aware in our neighborhood that a errant firework had gone into somebody's open window and had caused some slight damage. And there had been the evening before, I think some houses in Dorchester were damaged as a result of a fire by fireworks. Our issue is safety. As I said, we usually are a quiet neighborhood used to the fireworks for the 4th of July, but nothing like what is happening now. I have lived in this city in Roxbury and Dorchester for my entire life and have never experienced anything like it. The safety is an issue. The issue that we do have young children and others in our neighborhoods, and we have a lot of elderly people who live alone. And with all that's been going on anyway, they don't feel that safe in their homes and now being bombarded at night. And it starts early and it will quiet down. And then all of a sudden it goes on from 1 to 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's not fair. So I think for me, it's trying to understand what is the message of the fireworks? What are our young people trying to say to us? And how can we help them understand how we can all live peacefully together as neighbors?
Thank you for that, Jerry. Thank you. So I'm going to, as we're talking about young people, I think it's appropriate for us to hear from some of them. So I'm gonna ask first Alondra, if you could just kind of help us hear, what are you hearing from your peers? What's the sentiment out there as it relates to the fireworks?
Okay, so hi guys, my name is Alondra. I am Julia Mejia's youth liaison. I've heard a lot of different things. You know, I have the Facebook Live up here pulled up and I'm reading the different comments, the different opinions, and, you know, personally one-on-one conversations. Right near my house, I live in Hyde Park. They do the fireworks right in the middle of the street, right next to my house, literally right behind my house. They're really loud. They're really disturbing. I get confused. I think that they're gunshots, basically a lot of the different things that people continue to reiterate. I think there's a lot of people that are just blaming the youth, and it's not just youth, it's adults. There's a lot of people that are saying, you know, there must be a chain or this big chain. Some people are comparing it, saying that it has to do with the protests. You know, I think if there's one thing I have to say is it's really important that we don't create conspiracy, right? This is a community issue that we're all dealing with. and suffering in very different ways and at different degrees. And I think that the important part of this whole conversation and a solution-based approach is to try not to do things that aggravate. So when we talk about the idea of not talking to the police, I think some people have mixed opinions. Some people feel that, we should be, that's why they're there. The police, as it is called for a wide variety of things. And I think that as a community, there are certain things that we have to take on for ourselves. And that's kind of the point of this whole conversation in the first place. The second thing is, in terms of that whole idea of just blaming a certain group of people, when we start pointing fingers, that diverts from the point of the conversation. And again, it's really important to always keep in mind that it's a wide variety of people doing this. And the way magic isn't to say, you need to stop and and to judge. Oftentimes people are just doing this out of pure boredom, out of the fact that they have access to the fireworks in the first place, because all you have to do is drive over, pass it over state lines, and you're good. And that really, that access allows people to get away with it, and I don't think it's any deeper than that. I just think it's people that are really bored and tired of being home. And I think that people are looking for other ways to maybe alleviate and sort of de-stress, and they just sort of take this. I also know that there's definitely people that are just doing it for the sole purpose of waking people up. I know that the person who pulled those fireworks at 2:00 in the morning when we were all sleeping, when we have elderly right there that live like right across the street, that was definitely purposeful. And it wasn't a youth, it wasn't a teenager, they were adults. So I have a lot of different opinions on this. I'm definitely really, really upset because I see how it's impacted my community. I know how it's impacted me. And hearing the stories here have definitely reiterated to me the importance of all of this. But I also continue to stress to everyone that I speak to the importance of not creating conspiracy, the importance of trying to find a community way to fix this problem, not just calling the police for every little thing, for every little disturbance. I don't think that's necessary. I think they have enough on their plate as it is. So just keeping all those different things in mind. And, I'm really thankful to be here and to be a part of this conversation and to hear all the very various perspectives that are going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know in the chat, and we have Marissa, who I also invited to share her story. And I know she's been really active in this space and has been deeply impacted as well. And Marissa, if you can talk a little bit about, you put something in the chat in regards to that it's not just youth. You want to talk a little bit about that for us? Introduce yourself quickly and just a few little.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Councilor Mejia, for convening this conversation. I'm a lifelong resident of Roxbury. I'm also a survivor of homicide. I am also a parent and currently homeschooling a child now. And the fireworks, first of all, I grew up in the city. I understand fireworks are a part of just our culture. So it's in my DNA. I know exactly when fireworks will begin. And usually it's around June. But fireworks the fireworks started in March and they intensified Memorial Day weekend. And again, for being a survivor of homicide, being a parent, it's really, really hard to deal with fireworks all day long from 12 p.m. to 4:35 during a pandemic when we're working from home, we're homeschooling, and we've been sheltered in. So our limitations of being able to get out and move are very, very limited. And so hearing the fireworks and has just it's really been triggering. We had a shooting next door just a couple of weeks ago. And after that shooting, I was just really triggered by the fireworks. And these fireworks are not, as Pastor Odom said, these fireworks are not like regular firecrackers. These are new and improved fireworks. These fireworks sound like bombs. And to hear that sound constantly for hours and hours is a lot. And so one of the things that I wanted to do was to really understand this issue a little bit more and deeper, because I don't believe that it's just young people that are setting off these fireworks. I also know adults love fireworks and they're setting them off too, because I have neighbors who see adults setting off the fireworks. And so I think that it's important to have a dialogue. This is not just about this is a humanity issue, right? And everything under that whether it's quality of life, public health, public safety, this is a humanity issue. And that's why I do think that it is important for us to have this conversation and dialogue. But it's important for us to do it together, to have this intergenerational kind of conversation. But how do we get at people really understanding the impact, also with wanting to be able to feel like they can express themselves with something that is illegal. So that's what makes it hard for me. So I'm excited about being a part of this conversation and being a part of solutions, but also making sure that we are not putting this on young people, because it's not just them.
That's right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. I also want to uplift a few things that I heard here for us to also just kind of carry that into the spaces that we'll move into, is that we have 2 mental health professionals that are part of the conversation here. And I'm going to ask Dr. Pierre to just quickly just give us in a 30-second, because I want us to move on. We are actually going to do the breakout sessions because I feel like it's safe to do so, and I don't think nothing has happened, and now is the time to do the breakout. I think I would love for us to be, it's gonna be really difficult for us to do a solution-focused conversation with 71 people who are in this space. So we have our plan B that we're going to activate, which is my staff will be joining different breakout sessions. People will be going into different breakout rooms and coming back with 3 very specific solutions that we are going to do a report back on. And then we're going to talk about the next steps, because I really want us to, again, we don't want to have a conversation about the conversation because we already know how this is impacting us. So I'm just gonna ask Dr. Pierre, if you could just quickly just talk about and just really high level in the most layman's term that I don't have to Google anything that you are about to say. How this impacts our people, please. And if you start ready, I'm gonna let you know about yourself. Okay?
So let's define trauma to provide a context. So when we refer to trauma from a psychological perspective, it is used to describe experiences that are emotionally painful and distressing, and it's overwhelms a person's ability to cope. For those who experience trauma, they could cope through it or work through it, and sometimes they get stuck and develop PTSD. And it's about 8% of the population develop PTSD. But for Blacks and marginalized communities, underserved communities, we are dealing with historical trauma. So we are not only dealing with the fireworks, but we are dealing with the cumulative effects of childhood trauma, community violence, and poverty. And so for victims of gun violence and veterans of war who have post-traumatic stress disorder, the 4th of July can be a stressful time of year. For these people, July 4th fireworks aren't reasons to celebrate. The random explosion of fireworks can trigger a startle response in people who have PTSD. And these triggers can be sight, sound, sense, and it reminds people of their traumatic experience. So when we experience these reactions, the world is never the same. We experience the world from a very different sense of lenses. And it is the unpredictability of not knowing when the fireworks is going to go off that creates the sense of anxiety, depression, and a sense of isolation. And so it's important for us to understand that this is a very awesome event that affects not only the neurobiology, but affect the psychology of people. And so there's extreme vigilance, there's nightmare, there's negative changes in moods, there's intrusive thoughts, there's advance in social isolation, there's sleep disturbance, and there's a sense of shock and numbness. So it has a way of disconnecting us from our community and disconnecting us from ourselves.
Good job, Dr. Pierre. I'm gonna let you back on my show another time, okay? You can speak in really simple terms. I do appreciate that. And so we wanted to just level set. We're gonna break out into our groups, but before we do have someone, her name is Erica Walker, excuse me, I'm changing everybody's name here, sorry. Erica, who has done a study around the correlation between noise, that we'd love to hear just really quick. If we can bring her on, Brady, and allow her to show some slides, and then we're gonna break them to our groups, okay?
Sure, I'll just unmute Erica and then I will pull up her slides on screen share.
Erica, you're gonna have to do a abbreviated version of this. Just show us your top 3 slides, okay?
Okay, cool.
One moment. Thank you everyone for waiting. Okay. One sec. All right.
Yes, Erica, love it.
And Brady, you can go to slide number 20.
Certainly.
And Erica, we'll bring you back another time when we have more time, but you know, time is not on our side right now.
Absolutely. So hi guys, my name is Erica. I'm a postdoctoral researcher at the Boston University School of Public Health, and I run a lab there called Community Noise Lab. And we have working with several communities across the nation as they deal with their own unique community noise issues. So we support communities with real-time monitoring. We have a bunch of noise stations that we deploy in communities. We have 8 state-of-the-art that are compliant with current regulations. We do community engagement activities. We do laboratory-based experiments. We have a community noise survey that's been translated into English, Spanish, Haitian Creole, Simplified Chinese, Vietnamese. And what I wanted to talk about was the app we have. I've developed an app called the Noise Score Community Noise app, and it's in collaboration with a group at Boston University in the Department of Math and Computer Science at Boston University. And if you slide down to the next, so this is the actual look of the app. So what you do is you can download it and you register, and then you are allowed to measure the sound levels, so using a decibel measurement, and then you're also able to talk about how it makes you feel. Does it make you feel anxious? Does it make you feel nervous? Is it peaceful? And then you're allowed to pick out which of the noise sources bother you the most. So fireworks is one of the options that you can use. And what we do is we visualize that data in real time. So if you see on the screen here, there's 2 maps. There's a map of each one of your particular measurements that you make, and then we synthesize this data into a heat map that that covers it covers the whole world, but it's centered in on Boston. And if you can just go down to the last slide. And we've used it previously. So this is the actual Noise Score app when we were dealing with noise issues in the Fenway from the live concerts that happened over the summer in the Fenway. So we organized a group of concerned citizens. They collected data, and we were able to not only collect sound level measurements, but also collect this data. So I feel like the Noise Score app will allow you to organize, document, and measure, analyze, visualize, and take action. So I feel like at the beginning of any great initiative is solid data that you can compare to things like World Health Organization recommendations, noise ordinance, etc. So these tools are freely available for you to use. My noise equipment is freely available for you to use. So if you say, Erica, can you put a noise monitor in this neighborhood at this time? We're there. So any way that I can help with these tools, they're freely available and accessible. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Erica. I'm really impressed. You did that right on time. So if you could do us a favor, we have like a lot of people in our chat. Can you drop in your contact information, your email address,
Absolutely.
Your number, your website?
Yeah.
What I would love is for folks who are tuning in, We'll also post this on our Facebook Live and then our social media platforms later on. But we would love for you all to utilize this as a viable tool for us to really be able to organize around this issue. So in the interest of making sure that we have time to do what we said we came here to do, which is to organize ourselves, is we're going to go out into different breakout sessions. You know, in Zoom, it sounds like you're going off somewhere, but not really. You're just going to be sent off to a breakout session. And in your breakout session, you're going to have one of my team members there facilitating a community, a session where you're going to just come report back with one problem. I don't want to hear it all because we already know what the problem is. And then 3 solutions, 3 viable things that you think we can really gravitate to and actually may be able to do as a result of brainstorming together. So whether it be, I've heard things from fining people, I've heard things from posting signs all across your block, to doing a little bit of door knocking. I know that when I was a kid, whenever I did something bad, by the time I got home, my mom already knew about it. So we need to realize that the power of the people and the basics of just community still matters. And now more than ever is our opportunity to really go back to that and do something that creates an opportunity for us to build with our neighbors, but also help bring people into the conversation. So in our breakout session, Brady is going to, you're all gonna go into your rooms. The main group here, it will be working with the folks who are interacting with us via our Facebook Live. So we'll have some folks that stay here with us and some who will go on to breakout sessions. So we'll spend 20 minutes. I know that's not a long time, but you all are very creative, and I'm sure you already came with your ideas. So we're gonna have 20 minutes to do a little bit of organizing and come back. All right, so Brady, if you don't mind, send us out to our breakout sessions.
Yeah, certainly. I just need maybe 30 more seconds to make sure that I've divided them evenly and that that everyone is in the right place. I believe so. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And just so everyone knows, in breakout room 5, Annie Noel will be the moderator. In breakout room 6, it will be Cisnel Baez. And in breakout room 7, it will be Carolina Suazo. So please listen and respect them. They're members of our staff, and they're working very hard to make sure we have a solutions-oriented conversation. Thank you all so much.
We'll see you back in 20 minutes. Come back with good ideas. See y'all soon. And then I have a group that I'll be working here with, right, Brady?
Yep.
Okay. I got 29 people.
There.
I don't see them.
Everyone except the panelists should have been given an invitation to join a breakout room.
Yeah, I should have 20 people here. Could I see them? Oh, wow, yes, okay. All right, y'all. So here we are. So I think we already know what the problem is. So we're gonna get a head start because we've already been talking here amongst ourselves and with the audience. So I'd love to be able to utilize the space to come up with some solutions in terms of what are some of viable things that we can present when we report back. I'm gonna, you can raise your blue hand, or I can call on you, whichever one you want, because I will call you out, trust me. Okay, Melinda.
And everyone can unmute themselves now. I changed the permissions.
But don't act up because I can still mute you though. Go ahead.
Okay, there we go. Now, come on. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things that's happening on a community level is we're working a lot with people who are food sensitive. You know, they're having food insecurities. So I would say there's a way, if there could be a way that we could have either people there or included in their food boxes, information in different languages about the impact of the sound on their neighbors. Okay. And I think a web page needs to go up, or at least a Facebook page on the issue. And that it be linked in with that. Then I was thinking about the different languages in the community. If we could get the community newspapers to put some information out there for free, hello, as well as the Globe and the Herald, et cetera, like that, you know, because these might not be, you know, I was thinking the food method might be a good idea, because not be people who don't read newspapers or don't care to read newspapers, but at least it gets people in the community all on board in wanting this through the media.
I love that idea. Okay, excellent. Thank you for that.
You bet.
And this is being recorded, so those folks who are listening and have those connections, this is a great recommendation, and hopefully you all will gravitate towards that. I would love to, I'm gonna go to Anna and Ben. I know you guys have been grappling with this issue for some time now, so would love to know what you all have been doing or plan to do or would like to do or want to explore further. You can go off mute. You're on mute.
Okay, got it.
One of the ideas, I think it's hard, a little bit of this is challenging for me, because I think relationship building is hard around things that are illegal, because I think people are worried that if they admit to doing something illegal, you're going to call the police on them. So one idea I've had that I've thought about a little bit is just kind of like, especially on nights where I can't sleep because there are fireworks going off, like if there's a group of folks who are willing to just like walk around and try to connect with folks who are out at night at that hour, and hopefully the folks who are setting the fireworks off to like try to build that relationship, and also like keep an eye out on them in case like the police are involved, and making sure things don't like get escalated, and trying, but really like based in a like, let's build relationships, let's figure out how to support our community. You know, maybe we can learn more about like what's causing them to like set off fireworks and like maybe some of their needs. It's just like really that like relationships are really important, and I feel like that has to be the key of what we're doing, and like authentic relationships that aren't like based in like threatening people or you know, calling the cops on people.
I'm sorry. Here, just one moment. Let me change the permissions super quick.
No, you can't silence me.
Oh no, you're unmuted now.
Trying that. Okay, so I would love, Melanie, as a young person who's living this reality, what are some of the things you think that we can do to help influence maybe some of the peers who might be engaging in this sort of behavior? Specifically going to Ben's point in terms of relationship and how important they are. Like what ideas would you share with us? And you might need to go off mute. Did we get her off mute, Brady?
Who?
Melanie?
It's not letting, okay.
Okay. Why don't you unmute everyone? I don't
Yeah,
mind.
I'll do that. I apologize. From my end, it says that everyone should be unmuted, so I'm not sure why it's not letting you all do that.
We already did so much today.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, so my name is Melanie. I live in like the Dorchester community. I feel like after being on this call and stuff, I personally was able to realize more like how big of an issue it is. Like with the fireworks, I feel like I personally didn't like realize like how it affects people so much, like with like their trauma and like their previous thing that happened to them and how it like triggers those things. So I think it's important for youth to become more aware about this, and like I feel like it should be more projected on like social media and stuff, because like I honestly I have like a couple people on like social media that I'll see, like for example on like Snapchat or something, that are like a little bit older, that they'll post about the fireworks and like how they personally have them and how they're selling them and stuff. And then so I feel like that's like a reason why like the fireworks get spread so much and like to different youth, even though like they're not even allowed to be having them. So I think it's important for like people like them and like for them to be more aware like how much of a problem it is, because I feel like a lot of youth probably don't think of it as like deeply as others do, as adults do, and see like they don't realize how big of a problem it is. Like they're probably aware that they know that they're waking people up at like 2 in the morning while they're doing it, but they don't realize that it's like they're doing it, and like some people like it's reminding them and triggering them to like these like bad things that are happening and that happened in their life before. So yeah, so I just like think overall it's important for it to be projected in the media and stuff, and like on the news and all these different platforms, for like everyone and all youth and adults that are also doing it, to see like how much of a problem it is and how it's like affecting people.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Melanie. Thank you for being so honest about that. We really do appreciate it. So it sounds like, really looking at how we can create a public service announcement, a campaign of sorts, and really deeply rooted on the whole relationship part, because I think once people hear the impact that it has on people personally, that can shift it. And it seems like just even having Melanie in this space has done that, at least given her something to think about. I love to go to Ron, because I know he posted on his Facebook, Operation, what was it? You had a whole coalition and a whole hashtag and everything. You kind of already was taking the lead on that. You want to share with us what?
Yeah, it was like Operation Bombs Away, get rid of it, because it sounds like a bomb going off. And like I said, it just reminded me, I got a bad picture in my mind of my baby falling on the ground, man, dying. He's dead. It's it just took me back, like the clinician Dr. Pierre, like he mentioned, he described me. You described me very well, and I don't know you, but you described my dilemma. And I just visualized my baby lying, and it took me right back to that day. So I just said I was just gonna go down to the police station and just put a complaint. I don't even know who it was, but I was just I felt like marching again, just marching to believe. It was called, like I said, Operation Bombs Away, to get rid of this thing. I don't know, but I really believe, and it seemed like maybe 2 days later, it had got real quiet, and it was nice. And I said, you know what? It seems to me that somebody went and talked to whomever it was. Somebody knew who it was, and maybe perhaps they listened to somebody that they could get through, whoever it was. And it seems like it was no more. It calmed down. At a certain time, fine. But there has to be a courtesy. Like I said, we take our family away, like the doctor said. I go because 4th of July is not a good day for me, because I just keep hearing in my mind, those shots.
Yeah. And
shots, and then I saw my baby laying on the ground. It just took me back to that day, and I don't even want to talk about it no more, because that whole thing, the whole day, it just and it ruined my family for the rest. I'm getting off. I'm muting myself.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ron. I mean, we're neighbors. You know, I totally carry this in my heart. I think one of the things that what it sounds like to me in this conversation is that if people can take some responsibility, even what I heard Ron say, is just some courtesy, maybe even just say, okay, we know you're gonna do it, but if you're gonna do it between such and such. So by 8 o'clock, you're done, and we could tolerate it, right? Or at least put some parameters, because the thing is that people they're gonna do the fireworks, obviously. But the problem that we are seeing is that they're starting as early as 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 12 o'clock. I'm like, okay, first of all, I thought that the whole thing was so that you can see the lights in the sky. Like, I thought that's why you did it, not because you want to hear that. So it's just very confusing. And because I live around in a neighborhood that I don't know, I can't tell the difference between a firecracker or a gunshot, that is also very triggering for me as well. And so I think that all of these conversations are really important to have. I'd love to, I know Samantha, you are also part of the clinician world. Anything that you can think of in terms of just the psychology of this that might be in terms of messaging, in terms of how we can position this in a way that people might have a little bit more of an emotional appeal?
I don't have anything to add. I think Dr. Pierre did a great job at being very succinct and kind of like talking to it. But just as a solution, as I'm sitting here, listening to everyone share their stories, maybe something as I'm thinking like a public service announcement where people share their experiences in 30 seconds, and we can kind of like have all these different videos and create like this, maybe a 2-minute thing that can be shared with either the news stations and also can be shared on the various social media platforms, because there is something to be said about hearing somebody's experience that maybe you hadn't considered, just how impactful or how harmful it might be to someone else. That way we're increasing awareness and also helping eventually to stop this issue. I do like this idea of awareness because sometimes people just don't know. And so I'm thinking that maybe if they knew better, then we would do better. So maybe something like that.
I love that. I love that. I'm going to, if anyone else, Sean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but any ideas you have? Because remember, we're trying not to call 911 and 311. We really want to handle this ourselves. So do you have any ideas that you'd like to share with us? We can unmute. Maybe you could put it in the chat at this point, Brady.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking, and I think I think the PSA idea is great. I also I just have I'm exhausted I'm grateful for the space to share, but also it's also really important to not put having survivors of trauma have to share their experience, because that takes a certain level of trust which I think you got to start somewhere, so that's great. I also think that I'm also pretty I need tangible things, and I just thinking of bus stops or the sides of trash cans, how many we stopped using plastic straws from those pictures of turtles on the sides of trash cans. If we talk about the impact of just sort of what the stress on the 311 system of all the amount of calls that are coming in that could the resources are having to be used around this, when we have if we can have more productive conversations like this, and just sort of the they showed on the news the percentage of increase to 911 or 311 calls just in terms of speaking about fireworks, and think about what those resources could be, that people that needed help that weren't getting help because of the fireworks going off. So I think any sort of small either social media, print, news, radio, anything like that, those are really helpful. And also providing the space to allow people to if they're comfortable to share, just this is huge. I mean, I shared just on my social media, just in terms of the conversation about fireworks, and so many of my friends who and I'm not necessarily sharing everything about my trauma, but they're like, what's the big deal about fireworks? Because you're just not thinking about it. Because some people, you know, it's just like fine. They think like, oh, it scares their dog or something, but like you don't think about what the ripple effects that it has on people that you have in your family, in your building, in your neighborhood. So anything to sort of get more conversations going like that.
Julia, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry about that. I was on mute. I need to learn how to unmute myself too. No, I was just basically saying I'm not on mute anymore. Going back to the point that Anna and Ben made earlier about the relationship building aspect. I feel like we, you know, oftentimes don't even know our own neighbors, and we've been so far removed from each other because just the way we live our lives. And I think that this is really presenting itself, even though it's a nuisance, it's also presenting itself as an opportunity to kind of build that community that we have lost along the way. I believe that Mr. Dance, you have, there are some people who are oppositional in general. Do you want to talk a little bit about this? Where are you? Dr. Dance. Mr. Dance, do you want to share with us? We can unmute you.
Thanks. All right, cool. So yeah, I was just jotting them in the chat a little bit, but a couple of things where, so PTSD is an anxiety disorder. Dr. P already went through it, but one of the things with anxiety is if you can, you know, prepare adequately, you can't get rid of the effect, but you can dampen the effects of it. So, you know, we do that in therapy through like mindfulness and things like that. But even just residents knowing what time they're coming is important. I give the example of my community. I'm from Cambridge, and we used to have a big graffiti issue, but now we have a graffiti wall where artists are invited to do that, you know, and it's become public art. The community's on board. Getting the word out to residents, like through whether it's through you know, just passing out forms that this is going to happen at 8 o'clock today. Here are some mindfulness tips to prepare yourself for it. That's one way. Then you have people that are just oppositional, that aren't going to care about that and just want to do it, and it's for good reason. Some of them are expressing themselves right now and being defiant. For them, it is what you all are talking about, that having the community, quote unquote, police itself. But I was sharing in the thread, maybe, you know, people don't have to disclose their trauma, their you know, disorder, but they could have little signs that say like fireworks trigger me, or babies can't sleep through fireworks, or something like that. So it could go on doors. Like a little sign. And
thank you.
Just a couple of things.
We find out you live in Cambridge. How are you getting to my Zoom? I'm just joking. We'll let you stay. I'm teasing you, but thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna go to Marissa. Marissa, I know you've been chatting it up on in the chat room, and you were also already in a conversation that was hosted by James Hill of Drive Boston in regards to kind of like this very specific issue. You just want to talk a little bit about some ideas that you're thinking of that you can share with us?
Sure. So one, I'm so appreciative of young people. Being a former youth worker, hearing young people being a part of this conversation is so important. And that is actually what really got me to really understand understand it from the other perspective. It was a young person, and getting in this exchange with this young person on social media because they called us out and said we were snitches. And I bring this up because I think that it is, and I put this in the chat, so important to really talk to and understand the people who are setting out off the fireworks, understanding what that demographic is, understanding why they're doing it, why it's happening the way it's happening, right? I understand now, you know, it's now considered a sport. And so and my house is right in the middle of the fireworks, and literally the sites just go from one site to the next site, to the next site, to the next site, to the next site. And so that's why I think that level of engagement is so important to this issue, is really trying to figure out how do we move beyond, because now, you know, we don't know our neighbors anymore. And I think this is an important time for us to start beginning to break those walls down and start thinking, and I'm talking to myself, because it's also like, I'm like, well, it's dark outside. I don't know if I want to, you know what I mean? Even though I am bothered, like, you know, and I'm bothered and I'm being triggered and it's traumatic. It's like, I'm not walking out that door. And so we have to figure out how to break that so that we can begin to have communication and conversation. Like when I grew up, you know, we were, you know, my neighbor could tell me to do anything, you know, and that's not the times that we're living in. And so I think that part is important. But then also in these conversations with James Hill, like we have residents who do actually try to communicate to their neighbors about the impact, and they're not, and it's not well received, right? And the fireworks become worse. And so we have to, you know, figure that out too. So I think it's important to make sure that we spend some time really trying to figure out how we can get out and connect with our neighbors more and have these kinds of tough conversations and kind of break down those walls. And I think that it's also, and it has to be coupled with education. We've been talking about how do we use art as a mechanism. So I love the suggestion of, you know, maybe it's a PSA, so there's something that is a video, but maybe there's stickers, maybe there's decals that we can put in that give people an indication of, you know, what kind of impact their fireworks is having in the community, some type of visible display of it, and using art to do that. So that's one thing that we're talking about. Also talking about going back to the enforcement piece, but really more around, you know, the police, they get a lot of resources. And so how can we utilize those resources in terms of building these relationships within our community, and also helping to educate people on the impacts of it, right? So that they can have these brochures or pamphlets in their cruisers that they can hand to people or whatever, just to begin a dialogue before they give them a citation, you know, just to build a relationship around it. I don't know, but those are some of the things that we've been exploring.
Thank you for that. So we have a lot of great ideas that came out of this group. I know Erica mentioned in the chat that data moves policy. And I think that is definitely something that with the app that she talked about, with the number of calls that we've gotten from 311, that we know where some of this is happening, where some of the high performing areas, if you will, for fireworks, that we've been informed and we have a sense. I think if we can be really targeted in these areas with some signage, utilizing social media, and then working with the neighborhood office of to even talk about disseminating some of these flyers in multiple languages. Like Melinda said, we can work with our local bodegas, corner stores, businesses, but finding ways to get this information out in multiple ways. And so it's not just through social media, and then also utilizing, I think one of the things that I heard too is the why people are doing it. The reason why people are doing it is because they've been cooped up, they've been self-isolating. People are just, distressing, and the fireworks are more readily available. And it seems like it's the Cadillac of fireworks these days. It's not just the type of fireworks that we used to have back in the day. It's now mini bombs, what it sounds like. So I think some education around that is important. And then the last piece that I think is really important that Sean mentioned in the chat that I want to bring into the space is that, we're trying to do all of this in the time of COVID. We're trying to do all of this in the time of civil unrest. We're trying to do this in a time when there's so many issues around race in this country, in this city, period. And I think that we have to keep all of those things in mind as we navigate this conversation. So I really do appreciate you, Sean, lifting that up here for us, because those are the sort of things that we're contending with during these times, right? So, and then Dr. Dance wanted for me to let you all know that he works for Whittier Street, so he does have a role, and Whittier Street is in Boston, so we'll let you live and we'll let you stay here, okay? We're good.
Can I just say, just to add what Marisa has said, community engagement is important. And I think that we have to redefine the problem. It's almost normal to hear these firecrackers and it's abnormal to hear birds chirping. So we have to engage these young people in being able to understand what normalcy is like. And rather than working in silos, engaging the church communities is extremely important. There are so many groups here, particularly the college settings, and there are a lot of colleges per block. We could engage faculty in various institutions to get involved, to share their research, to disseminate research, to get graduate students involved. So it could be a collectivist effort instead of working in silos, bringing all parts of the community together.
Yes, I love that. And just so you all know, I have some really bad news to share, is that don't think that just July 4th is going to come and the fireworks are going to go away. Because if they started in March and April, trust that they're going to go on as long as they have access to it, right? So what we're talking about today is really about laying down the foundation for something that we're going to need to implement for a period of time. And I think that just really setting our expectations to know and prepare for the long haul, if you will, around this, so that this conversation is like, oh, it'll be gone in 3 weeks. Nah, sorry. We're going to be seeing this for quite some time. And I think I love Dr. Pierre's framing around rebuilding and going back to what is normal. I talk about when I would get home, my mom would already know what I did. And that was normal. And now our kids are running these streets and we're afraid to call anyone because of just the climate that we're in. And I think that, you know, this is what community building is all about. And then bringing everybody, working with our universities to get everybody back. From what I understand from Brady, we're gonna be coming back. So in the interest of time, because, you know, we don't have a lot of it, I'm just gonna talk a little bit about some of the things that came out of this group. If I've missed anything, I've misspoke, I need you all to let me know about myself, raise your hand and chime in, because we're gonna end, everyone's gonna do a little quick report back, and then I'm gonna talk about some next steps that our office is thinking about in terms of like supporting this work, okay? So I think we're gonna be going back. I just wanna say thank you. I hope this was as good for you as it was for me. This has been really great and inspiring to have so many different perspectives in one space. Having a conversation that it's impacting all of us across the city really, really helped, you know, super, I'm grateful to have you all alongside us in making this happen. And I see that we are coming back. Brady, in the interest of still protecting our security, I'm just gonna have each of the moderators who, when it's time to report back, Brady, to have them be the only ones that are off mute, okay? So it'll be Annie, Cisnell, and I believe Natalie, the three people who are going to be reporting back. And we're just going to report back on just to find the one problem that you all grappled with in your group, and then just really 3 solid solutions that came out of your breakout session. I believe we're bringing people back. I'm sure we have a few more folks that are coming back. I see Annie's back, Cisnell. You all made it back. I don't know how you all feel when you go from one Zoom room to another. It feels like you're in a different world, but we're all coming back to this one. And I'm going to have Annie, you'd be the first breakout session. If you could just share with us what came out of your group, that would be great. So we can unmute Annie. Brady, please.
Hi guys, I had a great group of people. We talked about a lot. So I think the general sentiment, we're just trying to figure out, what is the motivation behind these lighting these fireworks. We have this legitimate concern about involving the police, but also, we don't know who to call, what route to take. Some people spoke to the fact that they tried to submit a complaint, thing to 311, and 311 just says, fireworks are illegal, call 911. And, it's just tough to find a solution that fits all of that. So 3 things that we thought would be action items moving forward is education. So educating, like we did tonight, on the impact this has on people, education on the fact that, it is illegal, fireworks are illegal. Someone in the breakout group was like, but if you have to drive up to New Hampshire to get these, you probably already know that they're illegal. So different education. We had awesome Dustin from Andrea Campbell's office sent in our group a flyer that his neighborhood coalition made for their local area. So flyering, working with people around you to kind of decide what community norms you want to put in that flyer. And then the third was investigating the source of these fireworks. We had some researchers in our small group that actually saw how expensive fireworks are, and how this must be thousands and thousands of dollars, right? So where is this coming from? Is there a source that's giving a discounted price? Let's investigate that and stop it there. So that's what my group talked about.
Great. And I hope these researchers got their phone numbers and ready to work, because we're putting everybody to work here. This is a community-centered approach. Thank you, Annie, for that. That was great. I'm going to go next to Natalie. Or no,
I believe it was Carolina that was moderating.
Okay, if we can go to Carolina, that would be great.
Hello, everybody. My group, we had an excellent conversation. So one of the things that we kind of came up with, that were the recurring themes within the conversation, was having one centralized communication, because we had folks that, were calling their precinct, and then the precinct was saying, you got to call 911 as a community officer. So having one source to call to document this, and having one strong voice on the message from the city. Also sharing the narratives from folks that shared here within the Zoom call about the negative effects that the fireworks are having within for them, and humanizing their stories and sharing them. And also trying to find out kind of what's the mindset and what's really driving this behavior. Where's this coming from? Because this is unprecedented for the community. And just also having the police focus on figuring out where they're coming from, where the fireworks are coming from, and kind of engaging community policing and the community police officers also within the community, to try to, if it's within the community, to kind of try to stomp it out with a conversation instead of an arrest. And also, if fines are available, for folks to be fined for it, if possible, even though there might be regressive also.
All right, thank you. Wow, you guys got a lot in, both you and Annie's group. I'm really impressed that we were able to come up with a lot of those solutions in a very short period of time with a large group. Thank you for that. Which other group is left, Brady?
Cisnell's group.
Okay, Cisnell, you're up next.
Hi guys, I want to give a shout out to Group 6. They were amazing. Chelsea, Cameron, Justin, Kate, Kristen, Madison, everybody. So I just want to basically bring out a main point. One of our group members mentioned something about prevention, education, and enforcing. So basically, a citation or a ticket given by someone who is not an armed officer, a fine that's affordable, basically maybe even working with the Department of Public Health or Marty Martinez to kind of just give the citation and find reports within that department She also brought up ISD, which is a department within the city of Boston, and also the ADC, which basically kind of police the alcohol consumption or what's happening within bartenders. I'm not really sure what ADC is. I just know they kind of police a little bit of alcohol that's within bars and restaurants. But basically giving or enforcing that citation within that group of people who are not armed, that would be great. Educating as well by taking the same stories that were shared today, talking about, you know, how it affects animals, how it has damaged properties, bringing up the fact that a lot of the homes here in Boston have wooden structures, how that can easily catch fire, and educating the people so that there's a way that we can prevent this from pushing forward or happening. Something else that was mentioned was a designated night for people to kind of come together. I know 4th of July is one, but maybe having one where it's like, hey, I know this is illegal, but you can do it until a designated time. So kind of just designating things and also adding another layer of citation to people so that they know, please don't do this. This might hurt a little bit more if it affects people's wallets right now. So that's pretty much it. And yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you, thank you. This is great. We're solving the world's problems right here, guys. One breakout session at a time. Thank you. I'm really impressed with what came out of that. I know that we have also gotten comments and ideas via Facebook, and Jacob is going to share with us what we've heard online, and then I'm gonna do our little recap.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jacob. I was the one helping to monitor some of the comments on Facebook. We've got close to 1,000 comments on Facebook already. We've got around 200 people watching us right now.
Wow.
Thank you to everyone who has spoken out. I've heard a lot of really great ideas. A lot of people are looking at community resources and how sort of the community can come together to really talk to the people who are setting off these fireworks and sort of making sure that we're not involving the police or anyone from the government directly, and that this is a really neighborhood response. A lot of people are looking at ways to actually speak to the businesses and empower owners to maybe like look at the reasons why people are doing this and be a little bit more responsible. And in general, the responses have been, you know, we want to make sure that this is a community response, that we're taking care of these things, and that we're going to follow up with all the comments and post a follow-up from this meeting afterwards that takes into account everything that the group, the breakout session said, as well as the Facebook comments.
Wow, 1,000 comments, you guys. That is like, can we just like, wow, active participation. This is what civic engagement looks like, right? I'm really excited by all of this. I'll just be really brief. A lot of the things that our group shared here also has already been said, so I'll just highlight a few things. One is that in our group, we talked about creating a PSA campaign where we're taking the stories that we've heard here today, which is part of that education. I think that once we create a conversation and build it around the relationship aspect of it, people can humanize this a little bit further. So taking some notes and some of these videos and maybe creating a PSA around it. And we already have the content, so that's probably something really easy that we can do, and we don't have to spend money on it. Because this is the other thing, is like a lot of these things we can do ourselves. We don't need a big budget for it. So we got these stories, we can cut them up and share them. We can create a PSA without a problem around that. The other piece that we got is how do we engage our local businesses in the neighborhood? Is maybe working with the Office of Neighborhood Services. One of the things that Chief Jerome Smith had recommended is that maybe we can pass out flyers and all of the grocery stores that are in the neighborhood, we could put some signage to kind of help create awareness around the fireworks, that maybe if we let people know that they're illegal, like Annie talked about, that people don't even know that. So like some sort of awareness campaign that we can do online and on the streets would be important. And then the other piece that came out of our conversation is I always talk about the power of just having that neighbor to neighbor conversation. I think that if we can go back to the basics and just encourage our neighbors to be engaged. If they see something, if they notice that if it's their kids doing it, that maybe you can do it between this time and that time. So if you're gonna want to release some steam and we know it's illegal, can you please do it between this time and that time, like have some sort of curfew, if you will, around when it's time to do the fireworks. So that's, I'm going to ask Anna or Ben or anyone else that was in my group, because I was in the process of facilitating and talking at the same time, and I just want to make sure. Oh, and one more thing that Erica talked about is that data informs everything. And so being able to really capture this data can help us with our campaign. There's one thing that we also said in this space is that we know that if the fireworks started in March, trust that they're going to go on beyond July. So expect that whatever work that we do, it should be community centered. We'll engage the businesses, the colleges, the universities, creating a real community centered approach to this, because we're in this for the long haul. So I just want everybody to manage your expectations. You're not gonna wake up on the July 4th and you're gonna stop hearing it. It's not gonna happen, sorry. I hate to be the one to bear the news, but that is the reality. We're gonna have to prepare ourselves. I love the fact there are a lot of civic associations who are engaged in this community conversation. One of the things that we're going to do in our office is everyone who registered via Zoom, we're gonna send you a little social media toolkit, if you will, with flyers that you can print out and share with your civic association members in your community. So based on what we've learned here, we're going to be able to create that content to share with you so that you can share with your colleagues. We're hoping that for us, this is about building, and that we can utilize this framework when we come across other issues that are happening in our community, because I really do believe that the power lies within the people, and that city government does play a role, and our role is to help facilitate the resources and help create legislations and policies and things that are going to make our lives better. But when it comes to making things happen, you all have already been doing that way before even these elected officials came into play. So we really want to be able to create a community-centered approach to all of the issues that we're facing with here, because I believe that is what is missing right now. In these times require that type of community building. So I'm really hoping that we can continue to build across the entire city, across all of our experiences to move things forward. And the fireworks just gives us an opportunity to start that work. So you with me with that? Can I just see a show of hands? You guys loving that? You guys are okay with that? Okay, good. Because it's gonna take all of us to make things happen. So in terms of next steps, we are going to share the notes that we took tonight. We'll email them to everyone who participated and who RSVP'd, so we have your email address. We are going to ask people to volunteer, or unless we'll voluntold you and tell you, but we would love to have some captains, some community captains who are gonna help us shepherd this. We had over, 200 people watching us on Facebook, folks on Twitter, and we had a huge turnout here. We're not gonna be able to, everyone's not gonna be able to do everything, but if we can have some folks who can sign up to kind of help, like a steering committee of sorts, to help us lead this work. In the chat, please make yourselves available, or send us an email, or we'll tell you, because I already know whoever was on the main panel, y'all are all putting everybody to work. You all going to be team captains, whether you want to be or not, and we'll coach you through the process. But we're hoping that you all will participate and join us in this. And then the team captains will then work to disseminate messaging and resources that we'll put together. Does that sound like a good follow-up? And I know that I don't want to hold anyone else hostage. I don't want to cause any more trauma, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us, for bringing all of who you are into this space, and for trusting our office to convene this conversation across the entire city, this intergenerational approach. Just completely and like so grateful to you all, and to my colleagues, my council colleagues who joined us, and folks from the mayor's office, specifically Chief Jerome and his entire team. for engaging with us in this conversation. I just want to say thank you for all of us. And I'm in downtown right now, so I haven't heard any fireworks, but I do believe that our voices are going to make a difference tonight. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful night. Please sleep well. Take care. Lots of love. Okay, bye, you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right, y'all. We did it.